Okay. So hopefully it does something, So we had a serious disastrous start, which is good.
You got to learn from your mistakes. If you don't have a disastrous start, there's nowhere to improve upon. If you start well, people expect you to maintain a standard of excellence, and we're not up for that right now, honestly.
So because we don't have much time, we'll just crack on. How about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first question is, tell us who you are and why you are famous.
My name is Professor John Origami. I invented origami in Oxford College in 1976. And I'm here today to talk about my latest venture, which is the self-closing envelope. That's what it is. I assume that you wanted a serious answer, Abdullah. I do apologize, but my name is Andy, Andrew Bullick. You and I know each other, Abdullah, because I was a student of yours for some 5 years at the University of Dundee, where you took my master's program. You helped me get my master in letters from the Dundee University with a specialization in terrorism. It was one of my favorite things about Dundee Uni, actually, was that they let you specify what you like to specialize in. So I've actually got my degree on the sideboard over here, and it says terrorism in brackets. I take great delight in telling people that. Someone from Northern Ireland, they usually get a wee bit scared whenever I tell them that.
It's a kind of automatic progression, isn't it? From Northern Ireland, then a degree on terrorism, and you'll never go back to Northern Ireland.
No, exactly not. I'm hoping to take my terrorism studies even further afield. It's very natural sort of a career advancement for us Northern Irish people. You got to stick to what you know.
Yeah. Here's a good clue. I mean, I had a podcast with Noam Chomsky, my hero, childhood hero. So I had a proper podcast with Noam Chomsky for 1 hour.
Wow! Oh my goodness! Right, I've got some standards to live up to now.
So I asked him, Noam, according to you, what organization is the most dangerous organization in the world? So I was expecting from Noam Chomsky, it should be ISIS or Al Qaeda and all those things. His answer was, he took just 5 seconds to answer that. His answer was Republican Party.
The Republican Party? The Irish Republican Party?
No, American Republican
Party.
Oh,
the American Republican Party. Yes. Well, yeah. Well, thank goodness. I thought for a second there. Although, yeah, absolutely. Irish Republican Party and the American Republican Party, they now have the commonality of violence between them, thanks to the January 6th insurrection. So, yeah, I thoroughly agree with that. If I could, not that I want to offer an alternative, but I would say the Catholic Church is probably the most dangerous organization we have today. But who am I to come up against Noam Chomsky?
So we'll how about we can make a list top 5 dangerous organizations.
Top 5.
So
top 5 worst organizations.
For me and Noam Chomsky is number 1 is GOP, which is Republican Party in America. It's the most fanatic, most dangerous organization. You are saying that second one is Catholic Church. What's the third one?
I would. It's got to be.
How about
McDonald's?
How about it doesn't need to be an institution. It can be a person as well.
A person. The third most dangerous person in the world. Ooh, that's actually quite a good one. I wouldn't be. I don't think it's fair to maybe live, because we're out of the age of dictators and bad guys. Now that the Cold War is over, we can't point to individuals as heads of state as being the worst person in the world. I mean, you can certainly look at Bolsonaro and Trump as 2 extreme examples of really thoroughly despicable people. But I think you're right in saying that the GOP is definitely much more dangerous now, because they've continued to lie. I would argue that the GOP is not the Republican Party anymore. I would argue that it is now just the MAGA Party, because this lie just keeps going and going and going, and people, it seems like we're at a stage now where no matter what you'll say, people will be able to counteract it with fake news. I hate the phrase fake news so much. So I'm gonna give you the GOP or the MAGA Party, but I'm not sure. Elon Musk. There you go. I've just thought of one. Elon Musk.
So number 3 now. His number 3.
He's number 3. So who have you got for number 4?
I'm kind of tempting for what's his name? He calls himself now.
Kanye West, Yeezy. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
He's
I mean, we have to be careful. We might end up with a lawsuit from Kenya.
for what money? What's he going to sue us with? He's lost all of his contract. He's gone the Forbes rich list. He's lost hundreds upon hundreds of millions. Honestly, if Kanye West wanted to sue me for saying that he is an anti-Semitic twit, then yeah, bring it on. I don't know. I mean, is he evil? Is he hateful? Or are all of his ramblings caused by his untreated mental illnesses? Because
So,
that's quite well
do
documented.
you mean like he's not well?
Yeah, he's seriously unwell. I believe Kanye West is suffering quite seriously with his mental conditions. I think it's well documented that he has bipolar disorder, and it's also documented that he doesn't take his medication for bipolar disorder because he believes it stifles his creativity. Now, if the Kanye West, all right, let's get one thing absolutely straight here. If that's your biggest excuse, that's not going to work because Kanye West hasn't made a good album in donkey's years, okay? The last decent album he made was the one that had the Daft Punk remix on it, and that was back in 2007. So that's not going to wash for me. I think probably Kanye West is he's definitely in the top 5, but is he intentionally malicious? I don't know if I can say that.
I'm not into this kind of rap music, but what I sense that he's quite religious as well.
Yes, and goodness me, isn't it often the most evil people in the world that are the most religious? It seems to be some sort of line you can draw between it. So the GOP, obviously, incredibly evangelist in their convictions. The Catholic Church, goes without saying. I don't know what Elon Musk's particular beliefs are, but absolutely for Kanye West, he's now into Black Zionism. The belief that Black people are the original Israelites or the original chosen people. So it's brilliant to see him introducing religion into his ramblings because it's now justifiable for everything. He can say literally whatever comes to his mind. He now has no internal filter either.
Then we have to choose someone from UK as well, just to make the list more.
Yeah, it can't all be Americans, can it?
Yeah.
Someone from the UK who's particularly evil. Do you know, Suella Braverman, for me, is the first one that jumps to the top of my list.
Like, who's she? I mean, Suella Braverman.
She. What do you mean, who is she? You know exactly who she is.
I mean, what's her religion? I thought she's Buddhist, isn't it? She's Buddhist.
Is she Buddhist? I know that is Rishi Sunak a Buddhist?
I'm
not sure.
Rishi Sunak is a Hindu, so I'm pretty sure Suella Braverman is Buddhist.
Okay.
Because I was planning to convert to Buddhism at some point in my life.
Were you?
Yeah, but then I was a bit kind of concerned that what the hell is going on here? Buddhism is also why Buddhism would be lagging behind. They should catch up.
In what way does Buddhism need to catch up to other religions?
I don't know. You tell me.
No, I'm not giving you any ideas at all.
Hey, I don't want to go to jail. I've got 2 young kids,
I'll tell you what, I think one of the easiest ways to stay out of jail is to just give up your religious beliefs entirely. I think, listen, I say this as someone from Northern Ireland who saw how religion can poison just about every facet of society and of rational human thought. So listen, best way to stay out of jail, don't break any laws. You'll make that a lot easier by not following any religion.
Yeah,
but that's just my opinion.
I mean, you just quoted from Christopher Hitchens.
Did I?
Yeah, because he says that religions poison.
Oh yeah, poisons everything. You're absolutely right. I have quoted Hitchens there, and do you know what? With good reason as well. I miss Christopher Hitchens. I really do. Not for all of his beliefs, but particularly for his anti-theist beliefs. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Hitchens in that respect.
Just like we had a very good will to start this kind of podcast. Then within 5 minutes, we are now heading for 5-6 lawsuits straight away from Catholic Church. someone called Ye. You have to be careful with Sierra Braverman. Then no, I mean we'll be deported to Rwanda as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
But and I think you should be fine because you are,
Why will I be fine? Why will I get on grand in Rwanda?
Do you want the answer? Why you'll be
Yeah, I
fine?
really do. So I'm in no danger of being deported to Uganda. I thought you meant that once I get there, I'll be okay.
Yeah, like I mean, we can do a like kind of odds checker. Who has got the more potential to go to Rwanda? Like someone
Yeah.
called Abdullah and someone called Andrew.
I wonder about that one. I think you'd get on better in Rwanda than I do. I would, because I think you've got a lot of transferable skills. You're an educator, you're a teacher. There's always room for that. Me, I sell hearing aids over the phone, so I'm in no position. Like I don't have anything really decent to contribute to society, nor to this podcast, it would seem.
Like I've got like really good, very idealistic idea or like a romantic idea about prison. I thought, if you go to prison, you'll have free time. You can read books, You don't have to worry about, washing dishes,
I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. You won't have to worry about the dishes, but you'll also not be able to go anywhere. You won't be able to do anything. That's the idea of prison. It's not a holiday.
Like to go where? I mean, where do you want to go now?
Where do I want to go now? Like anywhere in the world.
Yeah, if I go to USA, I'll be doing a straightway go to the jail,
Why? Because you're being forced there? Because you want to visit an American jail?
It's just, some of the things are just like, we are in a situation now, with a name like me. There's always serious potential to either get deported, go to jail, or like just, gone missing,
Good. Do you know what? You shouldn't change your religion. You should change your name in that case.
I mean, no.
That'll help. Just call yourself Dave. There you go.
I can just call myself something, like formerly known as something,
Oh yes, the artist formerly known as Abdullah. That's a much better idea. Don't even identify by letters. Just do a weird shape. You see that thing on your shelf behind you there? That odd kind of vase. That could be the equivalent of your Prince symbol. The artist formerly known as Squiggly Vase. There you go. You could release an album from jail.
Okay, so what's going on in terms of politics? What do you think? The politics is exciting still, or do you think it's just boring?
That's a great question. Is politics still exciting? It's less exciting, and it's much more anxiety-inducing than it's ever been before. I have a terrible, terrible track record of my political predictions. I was supremely confident that Trump wouldn't win the Republican nomination, and I was supremely confident that he wouldn't win the White House. I was supremely confident that Theresa May wouldn't become Tory leader, that Brexit wouldn't happen, or that at least that we would vote against Brexit. I was supremely confident that Scottish independence was going to happen, and I didn't think Boris Johnson was going to become Prime Minister, and I didn't think Liz Truss would be PM either. So I've gotten to the stage now in my politics, if someone asks me, what do you think's going on? I take the opposite of whatever my instinct is, and I say that instead. So I know it might seem like a bit of an exaggeration, maybe even a little bit dramatic, but I think we're living in in an era where anything can happen. We've had, in the last 6 months, we've had the three shortest serving British prime ministers of all time: Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and Liz Truss. And the rate at which we're going through cabinet members, I genuinely believe anything is possible. That sounds optimistic. It's really not. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow Ukraine got a fast track into NATO membership and we were sending troops over the border. It wouldn't surprise me. It would terrify me, but it would not surprise me. I'm not surprised anymore. So politics is still exciting. Politics has never been boring. Anybody who says politics is boring isn't paying attention, frankly.
But I mean, do you need to be worried when see serious amount of incompetency in terms of, things you are supposed to do, things you're supposed to, manage, things you're supposed to lead? Because what you are saying, if things happen in Ukraine, it can go seriously, Part of me also think that, it can, the way we created this world order after Second World War, it's a kind of something like law-based international order.
Yeah.
But now suddenly think that, it doesn't matter, like it just depends on their mood, their, bipolarity, what it is. And then they decide that, okay, do you know what? Let's try Ukraine or, you're like, Iraq. So they tried other places. Those the people are getting more ambitious now, Tomorrow, like France might think that, yeah, we should invade UK. How about that?
The French are cowards, man. Don't worry about it. The French aren't coming to our borders anytime soon. Don't worry about that.
No, I mean when the USA invaded Iraq, the idea was they will be welcomed. So I think if France invades UK,
that's a great shout. I don't think the French are quite as deluded as the Americans. I think that might be the difference. I think the French will probably go in expecting to be spat at. But
the French people have got lots of things to give. I mean, to UK, the best cheese, best food, best
absolutely. The best accent, I would argue the Northern Irish accent is the best accent, but we'll agree to disagree. You're right. I mean, without the French, we wouldn't have, croissants, entrepreneurs, cafes, certain je ne sais pas. So that was a terrible joke. I do apologize. You're right, though, how states, their moods change on a whim. And this is the first lesson that we learned in politics was who holds states to account. In theory, nobody. I mean, the laws, the international treaties, the things that we have chosen to sign up to. I'm throwing just the Geneva Convention, for example. Who is to stop any state from disregarding those? Who is to hold any state accountable?
So
one might go back.
I think that's the beauty of living in an anarchic system.
Yes, beauty is an interesting word to use there. I wouldn't quite use beauty. It's like saying the beauty of a house fire. Not quite. I mean, it'll keep you warm, but at the end of the day, you still don't have a house. Sorry. I'm trying to inject some comedy into this as well, if I can.
I was watching, it's quite. I'm not sure. I got a bit emotional last night. I was watching Netflix. The All Quiet in the Western Front.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I haven't seen it yet.
I think this version is very good. Oh my God, the acting is just unbelievable. The cinematography, everything, the visual is just unbelievably good. But also it shows. I mean, they're very clever. They made it more, to kind of. Almost like force us to watch it and like try to understand what does it mean to go to war.
Yes.
Okay? There is no romanticism here if you're thinking of that war will bring some joys or victory or celebration. You will be shaped. You will lose your lives every single day. You will lose your mates every single day. Just unbelievable way they portray the war. And also, I think at the end, what it tries to say is that the futility of the war as well.
Yes, absolutely. And that especially goes for, World War I in particular is the ultimate example in the futility of war and the mass loss of lives for, we throw around the statistics of, thousands of men dying for just a few yards of territorial advancement. Yeah, absolutely. I think films like that are incredibly important, so that we're always reminded that the reality of war, the things that actually happen, especially when you base it on a true story. I mean, in 2022, we are bombarded left, right, and center with the glorification of violence. One just has to sort of, the first example off the top of my head is the Marvel movies. But every now and again, a film comes along, a real thoroughly anti-war film. And the thing that sets the anti-war films apart is exactly that, the futility at the end of it. I'm thinking of 1917 was the last fantastic anti-war film I saw, and it was particularly moving in that it was all, you were constantly with the protagonists. And I can't wait to watch All Quiet on the Western Front. I read the book over a Christmas break once. a particularly bleak Christmas, I decided to read the book, but I never watched the original one, the black and white one, and particularly when it comes from the German perspective, because we in the West, and particularly in far Western Europe, in Britain and France, we have this idea that the Germans were completely and totally brainwashed throughout their wars, and whatever finger of accusation we can point at the Axis powers, we can point right back at ourselves. So I think it's useful to see it from the other perspective as well. Yeah, futility. Futility is a good word. And not only are you going to lose your friends every day, you're losing a part of yourself every day as well, because war doesn't end when the fighting stops. Because as we know, generations of fighting men have come back, settled down, and the rumbles of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, flashbacks, addiction problems, these continue to run their courses through not only these men's lives, but their families' lives as well, and their extended family. So important to remember that war doesn't stop just because the guns have fallen silent.
It's like part of the problem with that, the way the system works. I mean, system is quite profit driven, and war is one of the good way to maximize serious amount of profit.
Yes.
I was giving this example, like when initially in the Ukraine-Russia war, everyone is promising or pledging that, okay, I'll give you $40 billion, $200 billion, $300 million for your, support to resist Russia. But part of the problem is, I'm like more concerned about the how the process of the whole thing works. So like for example, like if Biden said that, okay, we'll pledge 40 billion to Ukraine for military aid. So if you ask a military analyst, what he or she will tell you the breakdown, how this will work. So it's not like you just write a check or the wire transfer $40 billion straight to Ukrainian bank. It doesn't work like that. The way it works is 39% of that money will go to the military contractors straight away, and these are American military contractors.
Yeah. And what is the role of an American military contractor in the context of the Ukrainian crisis? What is a military contractor doing?
Because they will procure all those things, the process, transport, I don't know what it is. So the Ukraine has got very small hold of the actual money.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not as if there was a transfer into Zelensky's bank account as such.
No.
The money comes in the form of support.
So that even if you have goodwill to support Ukraine's war, what they will do a controlled execution from American side, because America is also worried about if you give them like straight away $40 billion, they might buy some serious long-range missile and then can just like first day Moscow.
We need receipts, guys. We need receipts. We want to see what you're buying. Justify it, because you're exactly right.
So because if you're in a war situation, if you're losing soldier every day, if you're losing your brother, sisters, husbands, you go mad. You will do whatever. So that's why the controlled part is the most frustrating part, because obviously Ukraine thinks that, oh my God, if I get $40 billion today, I can do serious thing today. But the problem is, it's not today.
No, it's next month. It's in 6 months' time.
We don't know.
If a politician is telling you that they are taking a moral stance in the war, believe them, but know there is the subtext of a big fat payday at the end of it as well.
Because the problem is, if you tell the subtext, because what you are doing when Biden is saying $40 billion, he's basically asking taxpayers that you are paying $40 billion. But he's not telling that 39% of that 40 billion will actually go to my friends, my mates, my family friends, or to my son, perhaps. I don't know.
Exactly. And if you think what we're saying, if you're listening to this and you're thinking what we're saying sounds overly cynical and sounds like we're quite jaded, Just cast your mind back a few short years ago to the coronavirus, when it came out that top Tory members were giving contracts out left, right, and centre to their friends and to businesses that they had a vested interest in. This is not a new thing. We can draw parallels to this from not just military examples, but we can draw it from every kind of example. So yeah.
And I think the part
Totally
of the
agree.
problem is, did you see, like, there's not much difference between the First World War and today's modern warfare. At the end of the day, it's a very conventional war. You see, you are not
Yes.
allowed to use. You have got weapons. You can do serious damage, but you don't used to. You will not be allowed to use them.
No, no, and there's another example of who's holding states to accountability, because we have had consistent reports of banned weapons being used by the Russians, such as cluster bombs, which I've become very, very skeptical about our own British reporting on Russia. Particularly, there was a particularly egregious example when the Defense Secretary Ben Wallace stood up in Parliament and made a claim that Russian forces were using industrial incinerators in order to clear the battlefield of not only their dead troops but other Ukrainian dead troops, so that the Russians at home wouldn't be aware of the scale of the losses. And within 5 minutes, I was able to debunk a particular statement by the Defense Secretary. And if you're listening to this and you know what this is, please go and find it, because the information, so the British government said it had received information in the form of a video source that showed these massive Russian incinerators. And you can find the source that the British government was using on YouTube. They are industrial incinerators, but they're used for industry. They've even, at the end of the video, they have the name of the company in Russian. And so it's the idea that the British government could tell us this absolute cock and bull story and expect us to swallow it, when even just 5 minutes of Googling was able to debunk it. Now, the question remains at the end of that, did they deliberately know that it was a false story? And if so, do they really expect us to believe it? Or two, was someone in the MOD really not capable of Googling something for 5 minutes?
One of the things I try to do is, like, I don't, because I don't know much about the war in Ukraine, because that's not my expert area. But one thing I really studied, researched, and also read quite a bit of things on that particular war is, this is the war about Iran-Iraq war, 1980s. That's an 8-year war. And once the war started, by 1983, Saddam Hussein started using chemical weapons. But the world knew about it in 1988 when Halabja things happened. It's not like, it's not like, it's a very classified document. It's now declassified. CIA was aware of something is happening, because CIA was providing all those, image of the map, who's where,
Yep. How did the CIA know exactly where to look? Well,
so,
Saddam Hussein told us when we told him them.
Yeah, so that's one thing. But also, if it is a complex case, why, if it is a court case, what you do normally, you try to bring circumstantial evidences and then try to say that, oh, that makes sense. So if you see the behavior, I mean, if you look at during the Iran-Iraq war, so Thatcher was in power. What she did, because two oil-rich countries were fighting, the most vicious war, industrial style. And Thatcher ordered her cabinet, or the people who are the experts on, selling weapons, is, can you redefine lethal weapons?
Wow.
So that
Do you know what?
Sell it as a normal weapons, though it's a lethal weapons, but you define it a different way. So that's what they were doing,
Wow.
I mean, during the Iran-Iraq war, 47 countries supplied arms.
47?
47 countries. Sometimes I feel like, they're like good countries, like, we talk about Sweden. Like, it was such a good opportunity. I mean, that's not.
Guys, we're missing out on a big fat bite of that sandwich. Wait,
if you look at it's quite an astonishing war. It's a war like no other. I mean, before the war, Saddam Hussein's reserve foreign currency was I think $40 billion. After the war, it was minus 80 billion.
Wow. So war is good business for some people. As long as you're not taking part, it's pretty good business.
At the last moment, at the very, very last moment, Saddam Hussein ran out all money, basically,
Yeah.
and really asking for, can you just give me just another 1 billion?
Yeah.
And I think America is one of those, big politician became a collateral for his money.
Yeah, of course.
New York bank, just give him 2 billion. Lastly, it's fine.
Yeah, just write the check.
Yeah,
get
if
out of here.
It's wrong, the taxpayers are there, so don't worry about that.
Oh, good grief. So we went back in 91 to kind of recoup our losses?
And this is unbelievable war. I mean, you can see like if you're talking about the biggest losers in the 20th century or 21st century, like my number one pick will be Saddam Hussein. But
I agree with you. He is a loser, but let's not feel sorry for him.
But we are told that he's the most vicious, most dangerous person in the world. This is the world.
Yeah.
He's the okay. One example, before he invaded Iran, okay, that was the easiest target because Iran just came out from a revolution. Iran has got nothing.
Yeah, total instability.
It's the easiest
no infrastructure.
Easiest invasion. Okay, so Saddam Hussein briefed his army generals. His first line was, "We'll be in Tehran, which is the capital city of Iran."
I knew that. I'm glad you said that for everybody else.
So he says that we'll be in Tehran in 72 hours.
Wow.
War finished in 1988, after 8 years. He was still fighting in his border.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
an unbelievable story. And then, you prop this like gangster and you thought that this guy can execute, So obviously he failed. And then you can see the second Gulf War, which is like the Kuwait invasion. It was automatic because now Saddam Hussein said that, oh my God, I sacrificed for you guys. Now you are not giving me money. I've got no money now.
I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. I have to invade Kuwait. They've got loads of stuff.
Yeah, because it's not like, he needed money to actually feed his people, but to actually save himself. Because if he doesn't feed his people, they will eat him.
Exactly. Do you know what? Like, no more death sentences or prison sentences for dictators, for disposed dictators. Just put them in the town square, in the capital of the town. Put them in the town square of the capital, and just let the entire population eat them. I think that's a form of restorative justice that at least I'd like to see. When we eventually, what's the name of the Belarusian dictator? Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But when he eventually.
Why do they look all same? Like like Mussolini.
Yes.
Like.
Why do they all look the same? They all have a certain style about them. Dictators need to have a certain style. Saddam, it was the beret and the mustache, and well, for Stalin it was the mustache, and for Hitler it was the mustache. Don't trust people with mustaches. I think that's the key here.
But Andrew, there is an exception here. One of the good guys we know about his name is Truman.
Yes.
Truman is the very important American president. He's a nice guy. He's a Democrat. He made peace. He signed UN Charter. He ratified UN Charter. The day he actually ratified UN Charter, he's like basically he just like phoned his State Department. Can you just bring that file? And they said, yeah, we are bringing the file for you to just ratify. We are part of UN now. On that day, on the same day, he bombed Nagasaki.
There you go. But did he have a mustache?
No.
See, there you go. So there's my theory out the window.
That's why he's the exception. There is no guarantee, like mustache or no mustache, doesn't matter.
Mustache or no mustache, you drop bombs, you're a bad guy.
My worry is, like at what point in your thought process you decide that, I need to drop like 2 nuclear bombs in 2 cities.
Yeah, and evaporate hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians in the blink of an eye.
But people who are especially the political scientists who are like more kind of humane political scientists, they have got a theory about that. One is like, you can only do it. First, you have to do it like bit of process. The process is you have to dehumanize the other people.
Yeah.
So you are bombing not actually people. They're not people.
They're the enemy.
They're the animals.
Yeah.
Not only enemies, but also animals, the dogs.
Yeah.
If you give them chance, they will eat you alive. So
you can't show any mercy. You have to respond with overwhelming force.
But also you know that war is actually over. War is over. This is like All Quiet in the Western Front, sequel of that film.
Yeah.
War finished, and then just like shot, gone. He thought that he can go back to his home, to his family, to his lover.
I mean, well, yeah, and like we said, the futility of war is that the war never ends. I mean, it doesn't. It continues in the minds of those who have seen it, and it continues in the lives of those who survived it. You consider the absolute devastation that Germany suffered. Brought to a breaking point by a dictator who didn't care about his country beyond his own ambitions. When Hitler eventually saw the light and realized that we're going to lose the war, he didn't care about Germany afterwards. He only cared about the Reich that he had built. So the ordinary German people who were left to pick up the pieces continue to live with that as well. As a matter of fact, I have Austrian heritage. My grandmother was born in Vienna in 1923, so she was 15 when the war broke out, and she has relatives that still to this day say how much they hated the Nazis and how awful what the Nazis had done, which of course absolutely, but becomes a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes a little bit more real when you consider that. Oh, I've lost you all of a sudden. Have you just turned your video off? I'm talking too much, isn't it? Yeah. Do you know what? I'll just keep talking to myself. Oh no, really? You have disappeared completely. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. This was an episode of The State of Our Politics, hosted by Abdullah Yusuf. I'm Andy Bullock. We will hopefully hear you again. Although I'm a guest, so you're not going to hear me again. But listen to Abdullah again. God bless. Goodbye.
Je peux vous le rendre, Seigneur, Seigneur, car avec les soldats